All right, and now to complete this build, we're going to do the second half of the assembly. We'll start out with the braces. This first one is the left brace. There's also a right brace, and these just need to be assembled, and then they get built or applied to the bottom, and they hold everything together. So just match up the numbers like we've talked about on all the other pieces, and then apply some glue and assemble them. This last little piece kind of holds everything together. So, make sure we get some good glue on that and slip it in place. Yeah, and don't put glue on the outside edges like I did. They need to go on the inside. All right, and I just clean off the glue with my fingers. Might be good if you wear gloves. All right, now we're going to match up the numbers with the piece that we've already finished. It's down inside. You can see it from the bottom, but we need to connect those pieces there. But let's also now assemble the right side, the right brace. Speed this up a little bit so we can get through it quickly, but it's pretty much the same as before. And then this one also has a number, and it aligns up with the other side. I'm going to try a test fit before you get them glued in there. Make sure everything is fitting right. Note there's a notch. There's notches at the end for those two pieces to go in. They just cannot hold it in line there. Apply some glue and get it adhered to the top. And then do the same for the other side. These braces just really are to provide strength to this build since it was split down the center. And this will provide also a place for it to, it can kind of sit, and you can place supports underneath it if you need. All right, here's the first piece that we started with, and we're just going to connect it in where it snaps in there. Those little tabs were cut specific so you can line it up easily and then put it in. Also, there are those little tabs in the front again. Just line those up so that they pop down inside. You'll make sure that everything's sitting flush on the bottom when you're gluing it in. This is a big long glue line here, just to make sure that everything holds together well. Gets all pushed together. It should just snap right together. Apply a little pressure and it should um, hold still there. All right. Well, there we go. That is pretty much the main part of the build. Now we're going to put some mechanical pieces in it to activate the gates. Before we do that, though, there's this optional piece that we mentioned earlier. This is just a way for you to place marbles in the top section without them rolling around. You can just throw them in, of course, at the top there and have them roll around wherever you want. But this is just a way to hold them in place if you want them to sit, directly above the garage for the specific marble. And you can put it in or out. You don't have to glue it. Okay, now we're going to work on the gates. We'll start with I think we'll start with the left gate here, but just showing you the right gate is the short one and the left gate is the longer one. I'll speed this up a little bit. These are just so we can get these punched out. These are small pieces, so be careful when punching them out. Might have to use an X-Acto blade to get some of those punched out. Clean them up if there's anything that needs to be punched out of the insides of these things. Okay. We're going to be working from both sides of this one. The gate is going to fit on top, and then all the pieces that make the gate hold in place are going to be in the bottom. These two pieces are the framework that hold the pivot point. So these will need to be applied there. There's a little T on these, which stands for top, and that's what gets glued. So there's a little T right there, and then you'll want to glue those tops to the actual the bottom of the pit row, just like that. So, and then there's another piece that goes on top. Better flip that around. There we go. And then that is going to create pretty much the pivot point for the gate. And that's how this is all going to go together. All right. We're going to create a cross here on this piece. This is creating the ability for this piece of wood, this flat piece of wood, to have an center point, or maybe what you can call it a hinge. I guess we can call it that. Anyway, but you'll want to make sure that it's cleaned out, because this is going to be glued. There's going to be pieces that will fit into those slots. So make sure they're nice and clean and there's no excess glue in there, because that will create a problem for the assembly further on here. Okay, let's get these glued together and then glued in. You'll want to make sure that you glue these two pieces together first before trying to put them in. Otherwise, it'll kind of be impossible. So they kind of go together like that, and then you'll want to glue them to the base of the pit row. There you go. And we're going to take the gate and we're going to push it through. There's a hole in the top there, and we're going to push that through. It's going to be tight at first, but with use it will loosen up. But we wanted to make it fairly tight just so that it has not a lot of play in it, so that it sits upright and works properly. And then we're also going to want to put these 3 spacers on here. That's going to keep it upright. So again, this is just to help hold it proper when it's up on top. This first piece, push it firm against the frame and do not glue it. We do not want this to be glued to the pit row at all. This is a free moving part, so don't put any glue on that piece, but glue the next 2 pieces to it. There you go. And then press down firmly so that it's going to be, you want it a little bit tight so when it moves, it doesn't flop around. All right. There's the first one. Now we'll put the second one on. Also gluing it. Now these kits come with some acrylic gates if you want to use those. The gate itself that has the cross piece in it, there's an acrylic one as an option to build. Although remember, they're fairly fragile, so the wood ones actually work better or more durable. So you might want to consider just using the wood ones, but acrylic ones are there if you'd like. This next piece needs to be facing a specific direction. There's an arrow on it that's pointing to the front of the pit row. The front is where you can read on the front rail pit row. So that's going to be the front. We want to make sure that it's always facing the proper way here. And then this will get glued also. Okay, that is looking good. All right. And now the last piece, which is this hole that's in this piece, really is important to get align it up properly. This is creating a hinge now so that it's going to get glued. Do not glue it to the round pieces that slipped onto the X there. You want to glue it just to those arms that were installed earlier, and then have that hole slip over top of that hinge point that we created with the 2 pieces. So and also make sure there's no glue in that circle. You want that circle to be free moving so that when we move this thing, it's not going to be glued at all to the pit row part of it. It should be free moving. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay. Now there's a piece that goes here. It's a guide. It'll be for both sides, but this is a guide that will allow the pull pin to move through, and it's just a way for it to be pushed through and stay straight. So anyways, just glue that on, clean it up a bit. And then the next section or next pieces here are to provide a rubber band so that when you pull back, it will automatically pull forward. You don't have to install the rubber band if you don't want to, but it's there if you want to. And that allows for a way for it to automatically pull back into a closed position. And it's just going to get glued to the bottom of the pit row here. And it's better to have it so that it's got some tension on it. So you might want to turn that around like I did there. It's just the hole that the rubber band's going to go into should probably be facing towards the front. Yeah, like that. And then you'll want to pull some tension on it and then glue it in place there. And it's going to be stiff at first, but with use, it will loosen up and it will work great. Just at first, it's fairly tight. And glue it down. I'm going to take the tension off of this, put some spray on it to see if I can get it dry quickly, and then take the tension off so it doesn't pull it out of place. All right, so that's the mechanism that holds the rubber band in place. And the next item that we're going to do now is work on the push-pull pin. And it has a nut that gets installed in it. And you'll want to just put some glue in there and get it hold in place. But you're going to want to make sure that the glue, there's not a lot of excess glue on the outside of it, because it has to go through the hole here. You'll see how this goes together in just a second. But make sure you've got a good amount of glue in there to hold that nut in place. And again, with my fingers, I'm just cleaning off any excess. The other screw and nut are for the second side, the second one. And we're going to put a little extra glue on here just to give it some additional strength. Try not to get any glue down into the threads. That will make it kind of difficult to use. So just pay attention when you're putting the glue on. That just slides through the hole there. And then move it forward. And then you're going to thread the screw right through that hole and into the nut, and then tighten it so that it is not quite tight. You want to be that screw becomes a hinge on that piece, so it needs to be able to move freely. So just don't tighten it super tight where it's going to bind everything. Again, I'm working that little hip pivot thing. It's pretty tight right now, but as I said, as with use, it's going to loosen up. You can just pull that on the back side and it will open up. Now put this rubber band back in and just, there we go. That's working a little bit better. So that's how it should work. Just pull it and it should come right back. Now there is a square hole in there, and you'll see at the very end of the video where there's a little pin that goes in there and holds it open. Either that, or you can just not apply or install the rubber band. I'm going to speed things up here because this is exactly the same as the other side. So pretty much it's a repeat of what we did. I'm just doing this one in reverse. So I put the nut in first. That gives it a chance to dry. And again, make sure this piece is cleaned, because you got to get those little round pieces that have that cross in them to fit. All right. And these are in reverse. So it's the same thing, but in reverse. So you'll just see how this all goes together. Pretty much the same as before. Put your gate in. It's going to stick through. Then get your pieces on here, and do not apply glue to that one, but glue the others. Guide in. We'll do the rubber band holder on the far side in the front of the build. Put the rubber band on there, check for tension, get it glued, I'll put a little spray on there. Excellent. Let it dry. Get that screw in. And then just like the other one, it's gonna work like that. There you go. All right. And then at this point, the little holder pin is the last piece to install. And there's two pieces here. Here's the pin. It's got a little finger hole in it. And then this little piece will span a notch that is in the back side of that piece of wood right there. It's not a very good view right here, but anyways, we'll just glue this, and there's a notch in the wood, and then when you put that on there, it creates a little hole where that thin part of the finger notch pin will go in. You'll see it here in action in a second. Okay, so there's the pin, and it's going to go into the notch, and it will hold the gate open. We'll tighten it first, but it'll go in there, and then they'll hold it in place, and it'll hold it open. Take it out, and go back in. The gate, we'll close the gate in. All right, there you go. That's our build. This is the pit row. This particular one is the one that has an open top, and then we have one more that has media building above it. And so try them out.